All this week, from North Shields, singer-songwriter Sam Fender is choosing the tracks of my years. His second album, 17 Going Under, recently went to number 1 and outsold the rest of the top 10 albums combined. And he's starting a huge arena tour, which will go through into next year. Sam's first choice is the Verve.
It was Christmas. I was about 3. And my mum got Urban Hymns for one of our Christmas presents, and she put Bittersweet Symphony on straight away. So every time I hear it, I don't know, I think like subconsciously I think it's Christmas. Because I was like wrapping all my presents and that when I was a little bairn. But every time I hear that song, it's like, it always takes us back to being a kid on Christmas Day.
So this is like a Christmas song for you?
Weirdly, yeah, just my dad like making a mountain of bacon sandwiches and like that playing in the background. And my brother's prepubescent voice on the camera, narrating everything. It's class.
Well, yeah, it just brings back those memories. Was there a lot of music in your house in those early years?
Oh, yeah, completely. My dad's a musician, my brother's a musician, my mum's a nurse, she's not a musician, but she would be screaming tunes at us in the car all the time. So it wasn't like unnatural for people to be singing around the house, you know.
Tell me why you love Bittersweet Symphony.
It's a massive song. It's an era-defining tune, that, wasn't it? And I think, like, that album was so kind of ahead of its time. It kind of carved the sound of British sort of alternative at the time. It's quite hip-hoppy, like all the drums, you know. It's really beaty, which was quite different, I suppose, for indie music, you know.
Right, Sam, your next choice is Nirvana, Smells Like Teen Spirit, and there's another family connection here, is there?
Yes. It was on MTV. I was like, what's this? It's class. I was just like a little kid, like watching Smells Like Teen Spirit on MTV and thinking like, whoa, they look cool. And the singer, obviously Kurt Cobain, like he actually, my brother kind of looked like him when I was a kid. My brother used to have the bleach blonde hair and I just thought my brother was like the coolest person on earth. I wanted to be him when I was little because there's 9 years between me. So like I grew up, he was like always kind of larking about with his teenage mates and they were all playing in bands and stuff. And I remember my brother was just like, oh, that's Nirvana. And I was like, oh, they're cool. And then obviously my brother had all their albums, so I just instantly was gifted with Nirvana. And it was like one of the first few things that I learned on guitar as well. And it was like that raw anger, you know, running around 5, chucking pillows all over the front room. It just smells like Teen Spirit, just launching teddy bears and that all around the gaff.
What do you think it was about Kurt Cobain that made him such an iconic frontman?
I think because he was like such a reserved character in interviews, but then he was this voice, this aggression that came out of him. Yeah. And like to command an audience of hundreds of thousands of people. There was that juxtaposition between them two sort of characters was pretty enthralling, I think. I was just flicking through the music channels when I was a kid because I loved it. But that first intro guitar, I was just like, and then you hear Axl go like, oh my God. I was like so pumped the moment I heard it. I got Slash's autobiography when I was 12. It got confiscated off us.
Did you read that and think, this is the life for me?
It just turned us into an absolute tearaway. Because I read it and he's like, right, well, I've just got to start doing really bad things if I want to be a rock star. I learned like one lick on the guitar, which was like a Slash lick. I used to just play that over and over again as fast as I could in my room, just go like like that. And once I'd figured that, I was like, I'm a certified guitar god, and I'd be in the music room in school just ripping that one lick for about 2 hours long.
Was that when School of Rock was big around that time? So every school did like their own version?
We had like a rock school thing where all the schools in the local area came together and like got all the kids that went to music, and we got out of school for a week, got to miss maths and just go like playing bands, and then it all ended with a gig in a pub. We all got up into the gig, and I got an award for the longest guitar solo. It wasn't even for the
Was that your award?
It wasn't even for a good guitar solo. It was just because I just wouldn't stop shredding that one Slash lick over and over again.
So, Sam Fender, we are still in your adolescence at this point, and we're going to jump back now to 1976 for your next choice, which is Steely Dan. Tell me the name of the song and why you've chosen this one.
It's called Caves of Altamira, and my dad was like, he proper loved Steely Dan. He loves all the like jazz rock stuff from the 70s. Caves of Altamira is just like It was when the first time I heard that, I just thought it was like the most badass opening to any song, with the horns like the ba-dum, bam, ba ba da ba ba dum, and then the ba da 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 da. It's just a huge like brass section, and it's like got such a good groove. Like they're like the best groove players. Steely Dan, they always have like all the best session musicians in. So like that was constantly playing like around the house. Or, like Steely Dan was always played in the car, and like it's such clever music that I was absorbing like all this mad jazz stuff when I was a kid, because my dad was always playing it, you know. And I genuinely think that like had such an effect on me ear as a kid, because it's like really intricate and complicated stuff. It was just like subconsciously being soaked up when I was a kid, you know. And it just makes us think of my dad. It's like me and my dad have like a proper connection over it, you know. And whenever I'll go out to see my dad, because he lives in France now, but it's always kind of what I go to, you know. We'll sit and have a drink in their place, and when it gets dark and that, at night time we'd always have Steely Dan on, and we could literally like, we're just sitting dark out about how clever it is and how mint it is.
Here's the first of today's choices.
It's just a tune, man. Just that opening riff. And it's that John Bonham drum sound as well. Like when you hear that snare, it's just like bah, and you're like, whoa. You feel like your heat's just clean took off, getting slapped in the face by John Bonham.
Was it Slash or Led Zeppelin or any of these? Like, who made you pick up the guitar for the first time, do you think?
Honestly, who made us pick up the guitar? Probably my brother, really. I just like grew up idolising my brother, you know, and he's such a fantastic musician. My brother Liam Fender, big shout out. He's actually recording his first EP. He's going to start releasing some stuff. He's a great writer as well. Yeah, I guess I just kind of like, I watched him in bands growing up, and I just thought like, he is cool as, I want to be like him.
We're going to talk a bit about that later in the week. Let's move on to your next choice. Sam and Dave, Hold On, I'm Coming. And this, again, is it your dad's influence?
Yeah, he's got a really soulful voice, my dad, and he used to sing in the social clubs back in the day. His voice is really, it's beautiful, it's smooth baritone, but also he's got a real high range as well. So I was always kind of like blown away by his voice, and it's very soulful. My dad was born in the 50s, and he just loved like all the soul music and all the rock and roll music. So he used to tell us that when he was like in primary school, he used to run home from primary school to get back to put the radio on, because he knew that Otis Redding sitting on the dock of the bay was going to come on at a certain time every day. He used to run home from school just to listen to Otis Redding. So he played us loads of stuff like that, but he was like, it was just a classic. It was one of them nights where I was in the house and my dad was like, have you ever heard Sam and Dave before? Tell you what, they're cracking singers, they mate. He put that on, and it was just like, I was blown away by it. I absolutely loved it. So I actually used to cover it when I was a kid, and I used to sing Sam and David in buskers nights and stuff, and I just proper fell in love with that whole sound and that era of soul music, where it was just like, you know, proper dance tunes.
See, it seems like there's all sorts of influences going on here musically. It wasn't just guitar rock, it was like this kind of thing as well.
Oh, God, no. There was loads of stuff. There was loads of folk music, there was loads of soul and the jazzy-ass stuff as well, you know. My dad's like he's a musician, but he's a proper music fan first, you know. There was just all sorts of stuff being played in the house all the time, you know. So this one was another one that my dad and my brother weaned us on, but my brother used to do a cover of this, and oh my God, like his voice was just so stunning. And I remember the first time I saw it, I was about 14, and I remember like being, you know when you get like shivers from a gig? Well, my pad is very messy, and there's a whiskers on my chin, and I'm all hung up on music, and I always play to win. Like, I always remember that gig. I just looked up to him, like, from being a kid. I think that dynamic, because I had my dad to look up to and my brother to look up to.
See, I really want to hear all three of you together now.
Yeah, we're going to just start like a Geordie Osmond.
Please do.
The Fenders.
What did they think about the success that you're having now?
My dad's proper proud, you know.
Good.
But he always says this, he goes, hey son, tell you what, mate, I'll be kick-starting my own career off the back of this.
I love it. Classic dad.
Class.
Your next choice is by Donny Hathaway, and this is a very evocative song for you, isn't it?
Yes, very much so. I was 16 years old, and I came downstairs in my dad's house, We'd sold the childhood home and then moved into a little house next to the pub. And the room was like dimly lit. And he was just sat and he was drinking a whiskey. It was like, I felt like this was the moment that I was initiated. I was like, I'd become a man. And he poured us a glass of whiskey and he put on Donny Hathaway. And I remember seeing him like proper, like visibly emotional, you know, because of this song. Because he said, this is my favourite singer of all time. He says, I think he's the most amazing singer that the world's ever heard, you know. And he put on Song for You. And we sat and I had a whiskey with my dad. And it was like one of the moments where it was like, I'll always cherish that, you know.
You can really remember it like so clearly.
Yeah. It was a moment where it was just the two of us. And there wasn't loads of moments where there was just the two of us, you know, like it was just a real sort of bonding moment. And I saw that day like how powerful music was. It's my dad's life and it's my life, and it's, you know, I think music's just such a ever-present universal language that makes every situation better. And it was just that moment. And then obviously the piano starts of this track and then Donny Hathaway's voice. And it's just like, honestly, I still, to this day, struggle to listen to Donny Hathaway without getting upset. But not upset, but like reminiscing, you know, it fills us with such emotion. I went through a phase where I was like trying to do a bit of acting when I was a kid, because basically I was such a hyper kid that my gran was like, why don't you go and do like a Saturday acting class, because they need to contain this mad energy. And I went and did it, and it was so good for my confidence. And then I went and did a load of auditions, and my brother used to drive us down, and he put on Born to Run. And I remember the first time I heard Born to Run when I was like 14 or 15 or whatever, and it was just that opening, and I was like, wow, what the hell is this? It was like, he's the original emo Bruce Springsteen, you know what I mean? And obviously I had a little emo phase when I was 12 or whatever. So I don't know, it just connected with us. The lyrics connected with us on a level that I'd never felt with any other sort of artist at the time.
Was it like a life-changing moment?
A complete life-affirming moment, yeah, because my brother was the biggest Springsteen fan ever as well, so like it was another bonding moment between me and him. My brother, I remember he just got the volume and just whacked it up to like full and then played Born to Run, and it was just like I hadn't heard anything that powerful. It was just insane. That wall of sound, the glockenspiels, the massive drum sound, like all of the different things that are in it, the strings and everything, it's just humongous. It's such a humongous record. But then with that like blue collar story, that like sounded like he was singing about Newcastle, you know what I mean? He sounded like he was singing about like my town, where we grew up in the fallout of all of the industry getting closed down and stuff, you know, and that was kind of what our hometown looked like. It sounds like the songs that, you know, the places he's talking about. So I just felt like I was hearing songs about Shields, you know.
Hypersonic Missiles, your first album, went straight to number one.
Yes.
But then you'd already won a Brit by then. So 2019 was mad. Now you're back with 17 Going Under.
Yes.
Also, as I told you on the Radio 1 chart show, a number one album. Yes. And that outsold the rest of the top 10 together.
Combined, aye. That's insane.
So when I called you on the chart show, if people haven't heard this story, do you want to just tell it again? Because a lot of things were happening at the same time as me calling you to tell you were number one.
So you were calling us, and Ant and Dec had just literally came in and told us as well, with the number one, in a random tea room in London. So they just turned up out of nowhere with the reward, and they were like, hello, son. You know what I mean?
Well, that's why this happened. Let's replay that moment, bearing in mind, now you know that Ant and Dec have just left the room. Delirious.
It was proper daft, but it was lush, man. What a day.
What a day. It was Radio 2's album of the week as well. I'm so pleased for you. And I wish you continued success with it. I want to get on to your final choice now,
yes,
which is Joni Mitchell. Tell me about this. Because you came to this one fairly late, didn't you?
Yeah, Joni Mitchell I kind of only got into when I was like early 20s, maybe. I'd had a mad experience with my health. I got really ill when I was 20 and did have to get bloods done and stuff like that every couple of months just to make sure I'm all right. It was like such a kind of really life-changing moment around that time. And I remember kind of picking up Joni Mitchell around then. And I heard both sides now, the orchestral version. I remember hearing it. It was one of them songs where I like instantly was in tears from it. It's rare that happens when when a song just hits you like that in the gut, and you're like completely just blown away. I was blown away, and then I remember being like proper ugly snotty tears listening to it, thinking like this is one of the most beautiful things I've ever heard. And then obviously I went back through our whole back catalogue and just started going through all of it, and I think I went to Blue first, and then I went to my godfather, who's like a proper music fan. I remember running to him and being like, why have you never played this Joni Mitchell before? And he was like, I have. And I was like, no, you haven't. I was like, I've never heard her before. She's class. And then that was it. And then he gave us the whole back catalogue of Joni Mitchell. Went through the wall, and I just completely fell in love with Joni Mitchell.
Right, we're going to play both sides now for you. But Sam, thank you so much for choosing your Tracks of My Years this week. Continue success with that album, and good luck with the tour as well. That's happening.
Oh, thank you so much, mate. Thanks for having us.